Hello, my name is Sara Oehler, and I'm the Sales and Marketing Manager for Softflex Company. Today I'm going to show you how to make a fantastic pair of earrings here in the Beadaholique design studio. And I am so excited to be here and get to share with you a design that I created recently using some of the new TierraCast parts and pieces from their 2017 collection that Beadaholique carries alongside our Extreme Trio. The Extreme Trio comes in 3 different colors. It comes in our champagne, our sterling silver, and our 24 karat gold. What's really awesome about this particular product is it is a copper alloy base. Each one has 1 by 19 strands of copper alloy wire, and the 24 karat gold is plated in a true, real 24 karat gold with a clear nylon coating. And that's how we're able to get that real beautiful color of gold in our wire. Likewise, the sterling silver is plated in a real 925 sterling silver, so it gives you just a beautiful, brilliant, bright silver. These are coated in a clear nylon, which makes them hypoallergenic and also non-tarnishing. And then the champagne, the third in the trio, is just the basic copper alloy with no plating with a clear nylon coating. When we first saw this color, before we were doing the plating and the research and development of this product line, we just fell in love with it. It's just sort of a beautiful, sort of neutral color that just pairs so nicely with the silver or the gold, and they all work together really well. So in this particular design, I used all 3 colors of Extreme, the champagne, the 925, and the 24 karat, braided together in one solid piece. So to get started on this project, I'm going to unroll a little bit of wire from each of these 3 spools. I need about 3.5 inches of braided wire. So I'm just going to open these up. They're really easy to open. There's just a nice little clip that can hold them in place, holds the wire in place on the spool. Just open it up. And I am going to take all 3 wires and simply hold them together about 1 inch to 1.5 inches from the end using a bead stopper. If you've never seen one of these, it's like a coil that just closes down on top of the wire. It's great because it doesn't mar or hurt the wire in any way, shape, or form, but it'll hold everything together, and it's great if you're doing something like braiding. Another great way to do this project, anytime you're braiding, is to use a macrame board if you have one handy. But this is a nice way if you're on the go and you need to do some braiding. Just clip it with this bead stopper, and then you can pretty easily braid the wire just by taking the left over the middle and then the right over the middle. It's just like braiding hair, not any different. And as you keep going, you'll build just a really beautiful braid with your Softflex. So I went ahead and completed the braid so that we could keep moving forward on this project. So I'm just going to clip this off real fast and pull in the fully braided piece. So like I said, this is a 3.5 inches of braided wire. The wire itself is going to be a little bit longer than that, probably about 6-inch pieces is what I would start with, or you can do it right off the spool, which I often do because that's a great way to make sure you're not wasting any extra wire. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to go ahead and remove one of these bead stoppers. And I'm going to take all 3 strands of the Extreme wire, and I'm going to string my 2 by 2 millimeter crimp tube. And it is a tight fit to get 3 strands of 019 medium wire through a 2 by 2 crimp tube, but it totally does fit. I'm going to pull that crimp tube down to my braid, and you may see a little bit of this jagged edge coming out. All you need to do is pull on the wire that's kind of sticking out till you can get a nice tight fit right up to that braid. Next, I'm going to take my magical crimping pliers. These truly are magical. They are one of my favorite pairs of pliers. They have a little notch on each side that's identical. And when these two sides come together, it creates sort of a dome. And that dome fits the 2x2 crimp tube just perfectly. So you want to get the crimp tube just really centered inside that plier and compress. If you've done it correctly, you'll see 4 little corners, like a little square in your crimp tube. It just pinches a little corner on each side. You're going to come in the opposite direction. Now you're going to pinch those 4 corners down. Again, you want to center your crimp as best as you can. And then I like to go around it 5 or 6 times, just gently compressing. What you're doing is compressing the 2 ends of the crimp tube into the nylon coating of the wire, and it also makes it into this beautiful little round bead that's going to be lovely for our design. So I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. I'm going to take all 3 wires, string my 2x2 crimp tube, and pull it down to the braiding. And again, you just kind of work with it until you can get it as far down that braided surface as possible. If you want to do a little measurement, you can always do that to make sure that you're getting the same size. That way your next earring is going to be a similar size. You can kind of keep messing with it until you get it just right. And then you're just going to use that same plier again, find the center, compress, turn it on its side, compress, compress, compress. And now to put it all together, we're going to clip 2 of the wires on each side. So I'm going to clip right up next to that crimp tube. When you're using a flush cutter, you use the flat side of the cutter to get as close as possible to the crimp tube. So I have just 1 wire coming out of my crimp. And I like to clip 1 wire at a time just to be really careful, and also just to get that nice, clean, close cut. So that someday when somebody looks at it, they'll say, hey, where did that wire even connect? Okay, so last, for the crimping, we're going to take both ends. We're going to string 1 wire through our 2x2 crimp tube in one direction, and then we're going to string the other wire through our 2x2 crimp tube in the opposite direction, and we're going to pull that down so it's nice and tight between the 2 crimps on either side, and then we're going to crimp it again. Same magical crimpers. You could also use regular crimpers if you really wanted to for this one, because we're going to cover the middle one with a crimp cover. Again, you don't have to use a crimp cover. I like it because it's 3 crimps in a line, and I think the 3mm crimp cover is really nice in the center, and you can kind of see it here on the finished design. So I'm going to get in a nice close cut. I've got my nice round circle, and I'm just going to do my very last bit, which is a 3mm crimp cover. I like to use the rounder and the regular crimping pliers for crimp covers. The biggest trick with crimp covers is to go slowly. They tend to sort of turn if you're not compressing right in the center of that crimp cover. So if you've never seen a crimp cover before, it's like an open-faced bead. It'll slip right over the top of my crimp, and I'm just going to gently compress. And if you go slow and you see it turning, you can come back in and straighten it out. I like to tuck my crimp covers, so I'm coming in on one side of the seam to tuck one side down, and then I'm going to come over the top on the other side of the seam to tuck the other side down. And that'll give me a nice solid crimp cover that's not going to slip or slide around. It'll stay put, which is so important. And then the last step here is we are just going to add an ear wire, and then we're going to add a charm hanging from it. So we used the silver in this case. So I'm going to use the silver Dagger from TierraCast again. You can use chain nose pliers to open an ear wire, but I also sometimes just use my crimping pliers because they're always handy because I'm crimping. So I just use the very flat tip. Open up your ear wire to the side rather than out so you don't ruin that beautiful round circle. We're going to slip the soft flex braid onto the ear wire, and then we'll slip our charm onto the ear wire as well. And I might do it the other way around because the charm's kind of big. There we go. And then I'm just going to close that back up. And then we've got a beautiful soft flex earring with our round circle that's braided. You can do this in gold as well. You could also use the antique brass with some of the new TierraCast pieces that came out. I hope that you enjoyed this project today and that you learned a lot about crimping and braiding and about our extreme flex beading wire. And definitely can pick up all of these products from Beadaholique.com. Thank you.